Well, that was a little disappointing. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video of Sports Talk Buffalo. Honestly, that did not go the way I think most Sabres fans would have liked in this draft, as apparently they tried to trade their first-round pick to bring in a forward to help this Buffalo Sabres team, as it has been rumored that they were going to buy out Jeff Skinner. And of course, earlier today, it was made 100% official. GM Kevin Adams did say that they were going to buy out Jeff Skinner. And now there is another hole that needs to be filled by this Buffalo Sabres management. So I think it was incredibly disappointing that the Sabres actually used their first-round draft pick and drafted yet another prospect. Now, a very good prospect by all intents and purposes. He was ranked as high as 7, one of the 7th best prospects in this draft. A lot of people say he's going to be a very, very good player in the future. However, the Buffalo Sabres need players now. They need proven NHLers now. I think this is a critical offseason for GM Kevin Adams, and I think that if the Buffalo Sabres do not make the playoffs this next year, he is very much in line to potentially be fired. And I think he understands that. Now, while Kevin Adams has drafted well in his tenure as the Buffalo Sabres GM, that's pretty much all he's done. Right? He signed some guys to some decent contracts. You thought you had an absolute bargain with Tage Thompson, and then he kind of, I don't say fell off of a cliff. He had some injury problems last season. You thought you had an absolute home run slam dunk with Dylan Cousins, signing for $7 million a year after 2 years ago, him exploding onto the scene and then just falling flat on his face last season. You thought you had a home run with Matthias Samuelsson, but that guy is made out of glass. Every time he hits somebody, he's hurt. I don't think he's played more than like 60 games in a season. So he's often hurt, and he's signed long-term. You thought you were going to have another really good potential top 4 defenseman in Byram, but when you traded Casey Middlestat to get Bowen Byram, but Byram struggled a little bit more with Rasmus Dahlin, and he looked downright, the pairing with Owen Power was downright putrid. So I don't know what they're going to do with Bowen Byram. It doesn't matter. It is a critical offseason for this Buffalo Sabres team, and incredibly disappointing, I think, for most fans, that they didn't trade away that first pick and really bring in some help. Now, again, they were not the only team that was attempting to make trades and leverage their first-round pick. However, it didn't appear that any team really wanted to play ball with anybody else in this first-round draft. No one wanted to give up a known commodity for simply a first-round draft pick, and I think that really held Kevin Adams back. There was also several players that are rumored to be on the trade block. However, they all have modified or no trade clauses at all, and the Buffalo Sabres are likely listed on a majority of those no trade clauses, which handcuffs Kevin Adams even further. However, much like most Sabres fans, I'm just tired of excuses. I'm tired of, well, we tried real hard. It doesn't matter, okay? Your job is to make the team better, and unless you land a big fish or some really quality free agents, provided they actually make it to free agency, you're just not, you haven't made the team better. As a matter of fact, you've probably made them worse. I think that is a huge thing that we need to look at, is that in the way of trades or bringing in veteran free agents to help bolster this young core, he's been absolutely putrid. Kevin Adams has failed in every way possible to make this team better and I won't say competitive now. They've been relatively competitive the last couple of years, obviously missing the playoffs by 1 point 2 years ago, and then kind of falling off a little bit last year. They had 83 points. They were however many points out of the playoffs this past year, I forget. But he hasn't really brought anybody in to help get this young core kind of over the top, right? After they missed the playoffs by 1 point, Adams decided, you know what, we're going to run it back with all the same guys, and that was an absolute disaster. It completely died on the table, and they weren't able to win more than 2 games in a row until February or March. Something absolutely insane. The Sabres were just a very mid team with whatever they were trying to do, which ultimately led to the firing of Don Granato. And they bring in Lindy Ruff, and now they're going to try to shake up the bottom 6, of course. And there goes the one trade that they did make. Obviously, I think they traded some picks and things like that. I'll be honest, I was incredibly busy today. Didn't watch much of the draft. Tried to keep up on it as much as I possibly could through X and things like that. However, it was very difficult to keep up on. Had a ton of stuff going on. But the one thing that they did do, they traded a second-round pick for Beck Malenstyn. I think that's how you say his last name, Malenstyn. And a lot of people hated this trade. And I got to be honest, it is a massive overpay for a fourth-line guy in Malenstyn. Malenstyn is something that the Sabres desperately needed, right? They needed a big, physical forward penalty killing that's going to give you 12 to 15 minutes a night and be in a good rotation on this fourth line for the Buffalo Sabres. He had 93 blocks last year. I think he was second among forwards in blocks. He had 241 hits in 81 games last year. However, last year was his first full year in the NHL at 26 years old, so that's not a real promising sign. And one of the other things that he did do, he chipped in 21 points, right? So if he can actually give you 21 points, over or nearly 250 hits, he can block 93 shots and perform well on the penalty kill. I think that's really all you can ask for out of somebody like that. Somebody that we, like I said, desperately needed in the bottom 6 of our lineup. Something that we did not have. Something that we all thought maybe Jordan Greenway would be, but is just not. But yeah, he's a fine player to bring in. Okay? I just think the price of him was too much. And I think that is the knock that a lot of Sabres fans are getting at. I think that they believe that it is just a little bit too much draft capital to bring in a fourth-line guy, and I wholeheartedly agree, right? I'm not mad at the player. I'm mad at the amount that they gave up to get that player. And it seems like the Sabres, Andrew Peters was reporting that a lot of GMs, they don't want to deal with Kevyn Adams. And maybe that is part of the problem that Adams is running into when trying to trade and bring in, these bigger, top 6 forwards, things like that, that a lot of GMs don't want to deal with Kevyn Adams for whatever the reason is. But that is the rumor from Andrew Peters, who's reporting from the Instigators. Now, it has to be a big free agency period for the Buffalo Sabres. In order for people to come back around and really have faith and trust this process, they got to bring in a guy or maybe 2 in free agency that is going to help this team right now. Now, there's a couple names out there, of course, that the Sabres could potentially bring in that players or people like myself, fans like myself, would not mind them bringing in. I think it would help them. They're very solid middle 6 guys, right? Second line, third line guys for this Buffalo Sabres team. That would help them now. They're going to score you somewhere between maybe 40 and 50 points, hopefully, in a quality year. Guys like Manta, guys like Duclair, guys like Tyler Bertuzzi, guys in that elk. Chandler Stevenson was another one. I think he would be a fantastic third-line center. But again, we heard during this, when I'm reading on X, is that they believe that Peyton Krebs might be the answer at third-line center. And I got to tell you, I don't like that. Okay? He had his audition when Casey Middlestat left. He had his audition to play more minutes. Now, it wasn't every game, of course, and maybe that played a big factor into it. He is still young. this is the season that I believe Casey Middlesadt started to really show that he is not just, a bottom six guy, that he is a top six guy and a very good center. And maybe the light goes off for Peyton Krebs. However, when Middlesadt left, I think Peyton Krebs had like 5 points in 21 games or something putrid like that. It wasn't good. All I know is it wasn't good. And if you were to average it out over a 82-game season, it would have been like 17 points or 18 points. That is not going to get it done. And that was after the Casey Middlesadt trade, okay? So you're sitting here saying he's getting more playing time, more of an opportunity. He's not playing with Okposo and Girgensons. He's playing with better guys. He's playing with the same guys that Middlesadt had, that Middlesadt was producing with, and he wasn't able to get it done. He wasn't really a threat offensively in any way, shape, or form. And I think that's why a lot of people really want them to bring in a third-line center. And I think they're going to set themselves up for a potential failure unless Peyton Krebs takes a massive step forward and maybe they see something that we don't on the outside. I don't know. However, if he is their answer to third-line center and he doesn't take a massive step forward and like double his point production, at least, the Sabres are in very, very big trouble heading into this season. And we're looking at a 14th straight year of no playoffs. That's going to be hard to swallow, and I think that might end up actually costing Kevyn Adams his job. It is absolutely crucial, this free agent period. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Were you as disappointed as I was that he was not able to get a deal done in the first round? And were you disappointed that he traded a second rounder for Beck Malenstyn when guys like Mangiapane went for a second round pick? Right now, obviously, he probably had Buffalo on his no trade, but still, that's the type of value that you could get with a second round pick, and Buffalo just wasn't able to do it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who would you like the Buffalo Sabres to go after in free agency? Tell me why you would want to go after them. Remember, I try to answer each and every comment. I want to thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you guys never miss a video. And as always, have a fantastic week.